want to get rocking here with the beatdown that we witnessed in the NBA last night. Jeff Pratt, Chinmay Vaidya, good morning to both of you. Listen, for the fourth time in as many games in the Eastern Conference Finals here, Jeff, one team blitzed the other. And one of the strangest best of 7 series in recent NBA memory is somehow headed back to Miami, tied 2-2. So I want to know, what did you learn last night, dude? Because for me, it's that the Celtics can win this series with their defense and do not have to play great offensively.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, this series has completely flown off the rails. We've seen the absolute best and the absolute worst from both of these teams in this matchup. And like you said, Emerson, it's only been 4 games. Last night, once again confirmed what I felt about these two teams, which is that the talent disparity is huge. I think the Celtics are truly so much better than the Heat, yet somehow this series is tied 2-2. At this point, if Boston loses this series, it will be because they beat themselves. Obviously, there are some potential injury concerns moving forward. Will Robert Williams be able to play in the next game? Will Marcus Smart be able to suit up? Tyler Hero, how will his groin respond after getting a day to rest? But the Celtics are the better team in this matchup. I think they should be able to win 2 out of 3 games here. And you're right, their defense is just swarming Miami. They don't have to play excellent offensively. I don't think they've played great offensively throughout this entire series, but they have enough to get it done. They just have to get it done.
Dude, Chinmay, I was in that arena last night for this game, and I'm watching it, and there's about like 3 minutes left in the first quarter, and the Heat have 1 point. Like, they missed their first 14 shots. Not to mention here, Chinmay, their starting 5 combined for just 18 points last night. That's the lowest ever since this stat was started to be recorded back in the early 70s here, man. How pathetic was that performance last night? Or was it more of what the Celtics were doing?
Let's be very clear. This was an embarrassing performance for the Heat on all fronts. And there's just no excuse for that coming out like that in a game where if the Heat win this game, they go back home with a chance to close out the series. There's no excuse for Miami to come out with that type of performance. And obviously, from a betting standpoint, you can't predict a team to start 0 of 14 from the floor. And that's really going to hurt some bettors when it comes to team totals and overall totals. So the Heat were terrible in that game. But let's also not give the Celtics too much credit here. The Celtics didn't shoot the ball all that well throughout this game either. The real difference here, which I think the countdown crew at the beginning of the game talked about, was the foul calls. The Celtics got a lot of foul calls, and granted, they were being much more aggressive than the Heat in this game. And the discrepancy was the free throw line. If you go back and look, the Heat were poor from the field. The Celtics were poor from the field. The Celtics did get the rebounding edge. But other than that, it was the free throws. And Boston was just more aggressive in a game that they absolutely had to win. And that's what it comes down to for this series, is who's going to be more aggressive, who's going to play through some injuries, and who's going to ultimately take those 50-50 balls, grab those 50-50 chances, and make the key plays when they need to be made. That's what it's going to come down to in these last 3 games. The knock on Miami this year has always been that they can beat any team on any given day, but because they don't necessarily have that top-end talent, or at least what many people think isn't top-end talent, they can be beaten on any day as well. So we're going to see who can grind out these last 3 games, because I think it's going to go 7. I think we're going to get a game 7 in Miami to decide who reaches the NBA Finals from the Eastern Conference.
I mean, the Celtics also cutting down their turnovers by about 2/3 compared to the game before, but Tatum leading all Celtics in double figures here with 31 points. Again, the starting 5 for the Heat combining for just 18. And the Celtics now 5-0 following a loss this postseason. They still have yet to lose back-to-back games. It's just really incredible stuff to see. Also, the way Jason Tatum is bouncing back. Let's go to tonight's game, guys. Let's go to the West. Dallas looking to avoid being swept. Very small favorites. 1-point favorite on the DK Sportsbook. Chinmay, you think Luka and company, they'll live to fight another day here, or is this thing over?
It's very tough to tell because the Warriors have not been so great in closeout games this postseason. We saw in the opening round against the Nuggets, they kind of fell flat at the end of game 4 there to then force game 5. Against the Grizzlies in game 5, they basically didn't show up to start the game. And then, the plug got pulled out in about the second quarter for the starters. And that game was over pretty much as soon as it began. So we'll see if the Warriors lay another egg here. But I would take the Mavericks against the spread, just knowing that they have basically this is their last shot, their last opportunity, maybe their last game in front of their home crowd. I expect Luka to put on another show. And maybe this time, Reggie Bullock doesn't go 0 of 10 from the floor. Maxi Kleber doesn't go 0 of 5 from the floor. So maybe there's some better peripheral shooting around Luka Doncic, and the Mavs do get it done. I think it'll be a close game, but give me Dallas in this one because I think the Warriors might check out once again with a chance to close out a team.
Okay, Jeff, we know Luka here will probably put up another big-time performance, but what we've learned is this team has exceeded expectations all postseason long as he needs some help if they're going to win a game.
Yeah, he needs some help, and he's actually found a little bit of help throughout this series. It just hasn't been enough to get past Golden State. Chinmay, I want to be with you here. I want to say the Mavericks are going to win a game. I don't want to sweep in this series. I can't help but feel like they're done. I like to believe that they'll pick up a game, but they've thrown everything they have at Golden State throughout the series, and it's just not enough. They had 3 guys with 20-plus points last game. Yes, I understand Reggie Bullock and Maxi Kleber couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but they had 40 from Luka. It wasn't enough. They had 1 guy with 40, Luka, 1 with 30, and 1 with 20 in Game 2. It wasn't enough. What more can Dallas possibly do against Golden State to beat them in this series? I just don't think they have enough, and they're not getting consistent performances from their supporting cast. So that is a major concern. But statistically, they are getting numbers from other guys. They're getting great performances from Luka. They just don't know how to beat this team, and it's because the talent disparity is massive in this matchup. So I think the Warriors are going to close it out tonight, but I'd like to think the Mavs can pick up one. Just not sure it happens.
Okay, so how many points then do you expect to be scored, Jeff? Because this total feels a little too high, 215.5, a number that's only hit once in this series?
I don't necessarily think it's too high. In elimination games like this, when teams are desperate and their backs are against the wall, this is the time when defense can just fly out the window. The Warriors want to play with pace. They're more willing to build up a lead and then just trade buckets for the rest of the game until the very end because they're that confident in their ball movement and their shooters. I see a path here where Dallas comes out running and gunning tonight and we get another high-scoring affair like Game 2. So, no, I don't think 215.5 is too high.
All right, where you sit on this one, Chinmay?
I don't think the total is too high. It is a bit of a tricky one because, as Jeff mentioned, teams do get up and down the floor in this type of game. Dallas has its backs against the wall. It's an elimination game for them. The Warriors, I still think there's a chance they get in a bit of a lull and sort of sleepwalk through this one. So I'm still taking the under, but I don't think it's that high of a total. And, if you're looking at alternate totals and you might want to push it up a few points to be more safe. But I do like the under here. I still think that's the play, but it's not, a clear-cut under as some of the other games have been.
Yeah, a part of the Warriors' success, too, this postseason has been limiting their turnovers. They start throwing the ball all over the gym. That's kind of backs your point there, Chinmay, of when they just feel like tossing in the towel on some of these games. Favorite player prop for Game 4 in Dallas, Chinmay?
I'm going to go with the guy who's had the hot hand so far in this series, Andrew Wiggins. I'm going to go over 1.5 3-pointers. He actually went under on this in the last game, but he's hit this one in the previous 2 contests. So he's getting the 3-point attempts. He's getting open looks. So give me Wiggins over 1.5 3-pointers. I believe it's at minus 125 right now on DK.
Yeah, he made numerous highlight plays in Game 3. I think people realize just how good this kid has become after the other night. What are you looking at here in the props department, Jeff?
I'm looking at a couple of players to go over their points and rebounds total. The first is Luka Doncic at 44.5. Shocker here, but he almost hit this with points alone in each of his last 2 games. He scored 40 and 42. At this point, we know he's going to show up. It doesn't mean the Mavs are going to win, but we know he's going to do his best to avoid the sweep. I expect another huge performance out of him tonight. And then the other player is Kevon Looney, who might just be the MVP of this series for Golden State. And his number is set at 17.5 points and rebounds. He's had a phenomenal series. He racked up 33 and 21 points and rebounds in each of his last 2 games. He went from playing 15-ish minutes a night versus Memphis to around 30 per night against the Mavs, and the production has just been off the charts. As long as he remains a key part of the Warriors rotation, he should clear this number pretty easily again, in my opinion.
Before you two take off, Jeff, which other bets do you like on the DK Sportsbook for tonight? Anything that people should keep an eye on?
Yeah, just quickly, looking at some DraftKings specials, I just touched on it, but I think Luka Doncic to score 40-plus points at plus 250 makes perfect sense. He's done it in 2 straight games. There's no reason he can't do it again tonight at home when his back's against the wall. I also think, going back to Kevon Looney, his numbers for points is just set at 7.5. He can clear that. He's done it in 3 straight games, just those 2.
All right, Chinmay, what do you got?
I like where Jeff's going on Doncic and Steph Curry with points, rebounds, and assists. I think those numbers are, kind of high when you look at them, but you see the production of both these players in this series, and you look and you think the over for both of those is the right play. They've been the most consistent players in this series, so instead of throwing out darts at some of these other guys who have been up and down, you might as well just ride with Doncic and Curry. Points, rebounds, assists, over for both of them. I think those are, the safer plays for tonight.